What's up? What's up? Real MVPs and welcome back. Just this is the part of the video. This is going to be longer than usual, and I apologize for that, but this is kind of a big deal. And it's not just me returning. It's not like, oh, I'm back. It's, welcome back. Welcome everyone who's watching this video back to the channel because I'm back. I am back here to make content for MVP Sports and do what I truly love to do, and that is talk sports and then talk about it with you guys down in the comment section. Converse with sports with you guys. Have this experience. So that's why I'd say welcome back. I was looking on the YouTube page before I recorded this, and it's been the last time we did a news type of thing or content where it's like, oh, we're talking about sports was January 10th of 2022, almost a year, a month later, and it would be a year ago. Well, the last time we did anything here was about 5 months ago for the NBA draft, so it's been quite a bit, but I just want to say welcome back. Get that out of the way because I am glad that you guys are here, that I'm back, and we get to talk sports again. Welcome into the Ricky Widmer Show, and what this is a kind of new iteration of what we kind of used to do, but my own spin on things. Each and every day, Monday through Friday, I plan to talk sports with you guys. Have this post during the day about the news or the games or the topics that kind of happened the night before, things that I want to talk about in sports, and then we kind of talk about it together. So with that being said, if you like what you see, hit that like button down below. If you love what you see, of course, hit that subscribe button so you never miss anything, and hit that notification bell. So, as I used to say, you can get notified. What is that how I said it? The notification bell, I think is how I used to say it. Notification bell. Hit that bell down below so you never miss a video that we post. I got more planned for this, but this is kind of my first step in getting back into the YouTube waters. And for today's show, it's mostly a football show with a little sprinkling, a little salt-based sprinkling of basketball at the end. And without further ado, let's just get right into it. The first thing on the docket is the biggest thing this weekend. It was the college football championship weekend, followed up by the college football playoff ranking reveal we had on Saturday. TCU lost. Friday before that, USC lost. USC is done. They're out. That allowed Ohio State to get back in the door. Michigan and Georgia took care of business, and that's where we kind of ended with the official rankings. We got Georgia at number 1, 13-0. We got Michigan 13-0 at number 2. Number 3, TCU, even though they lost, they are now 12-1. They're at number 3. Ohio State sneaks in to number 4 at 11-5, and then 5-6. The SEC rounds it out. Alabama at 10-2, and then Tennessee with the same record of 10-2. And my kind of first thought on this, and I'm glad I'm wrong, or I'm glad I was wrong, I will say, because I was talking to Jake Neverman, friend of the show, has been on MVP Sports before. I was telling him that when TCU lost, I was like, that's it, they're done. It's going to be Alabama and OSU get in. It's going to be Georgia, Michigan, OSU, Alabama. We're going to get SEC versus Big Ten, and that's just going to be it because I had no faith. I had zero faith in the college football playoff selection committee. Now, I will say, I got to give them kudos because they kind of steered away from what I thought they were going to do. They saw, oh, Alabama, we got to get them in there. Ooh, OSU, we got to get them in there. I'm kind of glad they kept TCU in here because TCU lost a close game. The only reason they lost that game is because their head coach is an idiot, and I shouldn't say an idiot. He made the wrong call. Kick the field goal. Kick the field goal in overtime. K-State gets the ball after you. Kick the field goal. Put your defense on the field. Stop them. If they kick a field goal, you get another chance to then win the game. I didn't understand the, hey, let's run it. The same kind of run play with our running back who Miller wasn't having the exact kind of success that he had the first time that they played K-State earlier in the year. That's why they lost. They lost because of one mistake in overtime. Should have kicked it. Shouldn't have went for it. That allowed K-State to win with a field goal. But yeah, I mean, with these games, I kind of feel like we're headed, like, this isn't the prediction portion, but like, I kind of feel like we're headed towards a Michigan, Georgia national championship, because like the way I just think about it is, first off, TCU, they're kind of lucky to be they're lucky to be here. They're lucky that the committee allowed them to be in, because the committee could have easily said, no, Alabama has tougher losses. Goodbye. You are no longer a conference champion. I don't think TCU is going to be able to stand up to Michigan. TCU has had a lot of close games later in the year. They almost lost a couple times before this K-State. I think there was two. The K-State game was close. And I want to say it was the Baylor game was a 1-point game. So like, to me, I look at it, TCU, I think Michigan can handle them easily. And I hate to say that because I want good games. And then Georgia's the best team in the country. I think that Ohio State, they got manhandled by Michigan. And if Michigan can manhandle you, then what is Georgia and this defense going to do? Because it sounded like Kirby Smart was none too happy with the defense after a 13-0 season. They might come into that Ohio State game pissed off. So, I mean, I look at this and I think we're headed for a Georgia-Michigan national championship. Is that the worst thing in the world? Probably. Depending on who you are, if you're an Alabama fan or an Ohio State fan, it's the worst national championship you could see. But hey, as long as we get the two best teams at the end of it, and I think that Georgia and Michigan have been the two best teams all year, and they proved it. So I think that's where we're headed with the college football playoffs. But hey, let me know what you guys think about the rankings down below in that comment section. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Who do you think wins? Who do you think is our national championship game? Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. And then moving on, other college football playoff news that we have is Colorado got their new coach, as Deion Sanders, Coach Primetime, is going from Jackson State. He is headed to Boulder, Colorado, to be the head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes. And before I get into what I want to say about this, got a little quote to say, because Sunday, Deion talked to alumni, talked to boosters, kind of riled people up. This is what Deion had to say. He said, and I quote, "I have the best coaching staff assembled, some of the best scouts, some of the best kids that we're recruiting, some already coming this way, or coming on the way as we speak, or as I speak, pardon me. And now that I've gotten here, I see and understand it, and I can grasp it, and I can touch it, I can feel it, I can taste it. I truly understand what you want. All you want is the opportunity to win, to compete, to dominate, to be among the elite, to be amongst the best. And darn it, I'm going to give you that." Now, coming into this, I had a little conversation with Dave. We were talking earlier in the day on Sunday about this signing. Is it good? Is it bad? What do we think about it? And I actually like this signing. I don't know whether I've seen some people say, oh, he's not going to have the success at Colorado that he had at Jackson State. Don't expect this to be a cakewalk. Looking here, yes, his record at Jackson State was 27-5. I had to look at how many losses he had, but I agree that it's not going to be a cakewalk. I mean, you're going up into steeper competition. Yes, it's not the SEC, but the Pac-12 is a good conference. There are good teams. Utah was good this year. USC was obviously good this year. Oregon, UCLA, there are good teams in the Pac-12, even though their games are late and a guy like Brandon Swanson ain't going to stay up for them. They do have good teams and good opponents for the schedule. Now, the one thing that I like about this, and the one thing that I think Deion has, and he said it, he has a coaching staff that he trusts. He has a group of scouts that he trusts. And more importantly, he has himself. Deion Sanders, to me, is the salesman here. I don't think like one of my thoughts in my head is like, oh, is this going to end up being like a Herm Edwards situation where we're all excited? Oh my God, Herm Edwards in the Pac-12, this is going to be great. And then he's out in a couple years. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think Deion, he might not bring Colorado to a national championship. Even the Pac-12 championship might be a couple years, might be 4 years for him to, if he can solidify a recruiting class and kind of build with them. He could potentially bring this team to a Pac-12 championship, but I'm not going to say it's a guarantee. The one thing I like with the Deion Sanders hiring is he's a salesman. There are going to be kids that want to come and play for Deion Sanders, and there were kids that wanted to play for him at Jackson State. There are probably kids that would love to play for him, but are like, I'm not going to Jackson State. I'm going to a D1 school. Now he has the D1 footing and can get these D1 athletes. I think that there's going to be quite a few that go, hey, I want to go play for Deion Sanders. I want to go play for one of the best football players ever to play the game of football. I think Deion Sanders is in that category, especially DBs. And that's going to be his strongest point. And that's going to be the big marking of whether he succeeds or fails. How many big-time recruits can he sway to the university just on himself? He is the salesman here. He either sells the program or he doesn't. I think he's going to succeed in that. I think that the Buffaloes, I should say, Colorado, I think they're going to be a good team. He's going to bring them to where they contend in the Pac-12, maybe in about 4 years. When you get that recruiting class, you build them up, they become juniors and then seniors. That's when we really see, okay, that's when Colorado could be kind of contending for a Pac-12 championship. But however, there could be people that transfer. The transfer portal is way different than it was in the past, but I'm all for this. I love the hire by Colorado, and I can't wait to see what Deion does in the next few years, because I think years 1 and 2 will be important, but years 3 and 4 will be where the real impact is made and where we see the real success with Deion and the Buffaloes. All right, now let's move from college over into the NFL. Sunday had a full slate of games. Week 13 happened. We have one game yet to play tonight, the Bucs and the Saints. Not going to go through every game, but going to go through the big kind of news for today, for week 13. And sad to say, the big ones are injuries. Is the first one, Jimmy Garoppolo. Foot injury, broken foot, out for the season. Nick Bosa, there was a quote I read on ESPN where he was kind of broken up in the locker room, kind of emotional about it, because he said seeing Jimmy G kind of reminded him of when he had, I think it was an ACL injury that ended his season. You could see the emotion on Jimmy's face that his season is done. And the big thing with this for me is, first off, T's and P's to Jimmy G. Hope the recovery is speedy and not painless, no setbacks. But looking forward, because that's what we do, hey, person gets injured, how does this immediately affect the team? I think this hurts the 49ers kind of in a big way. And I know that you're saying, well, duh, Ricky, like they lose Jimmy G. Trey Lance already out for the year. Jimmy G now out for the year. What, your quarterback now is Brock Purdy, one of the best names in college football back in the day with Iowa State. But Brock Purdy, this is almost like a CJ Beathard 2.0 situation. And there may be some of you out there, maybe you're Niners fans, where you're sitting there going, hey, we still got Debo, we still got Brandon Ayuk, we still got George Kittle, we now have Christian McCaffrey. Maybe those weapons can give something. Maybe they can give something for Brock Purdy to work with. Here's the issue. I don't think Brock Purdy has it. Not saying that Brock Purdy's bad. I just don't think he has it. This is not going to be a Nick Foles situation where Carson Wentz goes down, Nick Foles comes in. I don't think that is going to happen. I don't think that's a situation here. The NFC, you could say the NFC is a wide open race. I know that Eagle fans are going to get mad at that. They're going to say, Ricky, we're 11-1. Put some respect on our name. We beat your Vikings. But The Eagles, to me, have not. When they're their best, they look unbeatable, but they haven't looked unbeatable in every game this season. There are lapses with the Eagles. There is a chance they come out poor one game and get punched in the mouth first, and then they're behind the eight ball. Playoffs are wonky like that. You got one game. You don't get a series. You get one game to prove yourself. Eagles would probably be my front runner, but I think they're not unbeatable. The Vikings, I love them. I hope they make the Super Bowl, but our defense today can't stop a nosebleed. We let the Jets back into the game, and Kirk Cousins is, I mean, he plays at noon. He's amazing. He plays in prime time. He's not, and that's going to be a problem when your playoff games are most likely not going to be at noon all the time. So, I mean, I look at this and I go, the teams that now have the open race, Eagles, Vikings, Cowboys would probably be my three favorites to get out of the NFC into the Super Bowl. But this is a hit. This is a bad hit for the 49ers, who traded for Christian McCaffrey, tried to do what the Rams did. Hey, we're going to go all in. They may still win the division. I know that they're only a couple games ahead of Seattle. Seattle losing Kenneth Walker today. We'll see how long he's out for. But the Niners should be able to limp into the playoffs, but I don't think that anything comes of Brock Purdy. Don't expect Nick Foles 2.0. The other injury that happened today in a game that was dreadful to watch, the Ravens getting what? I think it was 10-9, a 10-9 win over Broncos country. Let's ride. Lamar Jackson, though, got injured. I believe it was at halftime. He had a knee injury. Nick Harbaugh, or not Nick Harbaugh, I'm thinking Nick Bosa. John Harbaugh, after the game, had this to say. He said, it's going to be a number of days, 2 weeks. We'll see. We'll see if he can go back this week. If not, it'll be sometime after shortly. That's not good. To me, there's a chance Lamar misses this week. I would start getting worried if I'm a Ravens fan, because you look at this game against the Broncos. First off, the Ravens aren't even that great of a team. I'm sorry, Baltimore, but they're a team that has allowed opponents into games. They'll get a big lead. They'll allow the opponent back in. Sometimes they've hung on. Sometimes they haven't. This was one of, like, they didn't even get a lead in this one. It was mostly Denver. Like, the first half was mostly Denver all the way through, and Denver couldn't even score a touchdown. The Ravens didn't even get a touchdown until the last minute of the game, and it was Tyler Huntley that had to help this team get into the end zone. I honestly think if I'm a Ravens fan, I'm worried, because if Lamar Jackson misses next week, you are at Pittsburgh next week. Now, that's grain of salt, good thing, because Pittsburgh's not a world beater. Kenny Pickett hasn't been amazing, but the Steelers are good enough, and without Lamar Jackson, the game to me turns from a Ravens favored into maybe a 50-50 toss-up of who wins that game. So even if Lamar Jackson misses one game, you got the Cincinnati Bengals right on your heels trying for the division. I honestly think, this is my prediction, this race between the Ravens and the Bengals will come down to the last week. I think that the primetime game on that Sunday, week 18, will actually be Bengals and Ravens to decide who wins the division and who might ultimately be in the playoffs, because there's a lot of good teams in the AFC record-wise. You've got the Ravens, who are tied with the Bengals right now at 8-4, but you have the Dolphins, who are also 8-4. You have the Jets, who are at the 7th with 7-5. After that, New England 6-6. The Chargers are 6-6. Vegas gets a win this week. They're 5-7. The Browns are also 5-7. And hey, if you let the Steelers beat you, let's say Lamar doesn't play, Steelers win, boom, 6-7. They might now even be in the running for a playoff spot. So yeah, it's very important that Lamar Jackson plays this game and does not miss. If he misses one, you might be able to survive, but if he misses more than that, your season might be donezo as we speak. All right, last but not least, let's get into the only non-football news of the day, and that's what's going on in the NBA. Had some games, some kudos. Anthony Davis getting MVP chances. He drops 55, I believe, in the game on Sunday. But the big news coming out of Sunday, Shams kind of dropping the Shams bomb as there might be a little trouble in Atlanta going on, mainly between Trae Young and Nate McMillan. And the timeline, as we know, and I'm going to put it up here. This is from the Athletic article. This is the timeline of events. This is what happened. So, first off, you've got it going into the game against Denver. Nate McMillan wanted Trae Young to participate in shoot around, receive treatment during walkthroughs, and play in the game versus Denver. Step number two, you had Trae Young, who wanted to focus solely on his treatment while missing shoot around and deciding later in the day whether he would play or not against Denver. And then the third thing, Nate McMillan giving an ultimatum basically to Trae Young, saying playing the game off the bench or don't come to the arena at all. And I've heard quite a few different things on this. I've heard the opinions of Trae Young needs to be a better leader, and this is all Trae Young's fault. Trae Young, like one of the big things I've seen on Twitter is Trae Young becoming the next James Harden, with how difficult it is to be like in the locker room with him. But also, I think Nate McMillan's at fault for this. For me, both both parties are at fault. I'm actually going to focus more on Nate McMillan, and this is not something of letting Trae Young off the hook. You are the leader of this team. You are the number one priority for the Atlanta Hawks. You gotta have a leveler head. And I know that this is the good and the bad with Trae Young. His hot headedness. It's not Grayson Allen levels of hot headedness, but you look at it and you just go, dude, you gotta sometimes cool it down and let cooler heads kind of prevail. When he's knocking off the Knicks in Madison Square Garden, that's fine to have the hot head chant at the crowd. We love that. But when it's your own coach kind of maybe dividing the locker room, there's already the kind of perception that Lloyd Pierce was pushed out of Atlanta because of you. You got to be smarter than this. However, I'm putting my onus and my focus on Nate McMillan because to me, I think that coaching, we're looking more and more as you look at coaches now, the way you win is to be more of a player's coach. I look at Steve Kerr with the Golden State Warriors, where he has expectations for that team. Now, yet again, Steve Kerr, what he does with the Warriors wouldn't work everywhere. Like, he has a core of Steph, Clay, and Dre that kind of, they're like extensions of him on the court at this point. So maybe that's a bad example, but like, even looking at football, even like a Mike McDaniels out there of just relating to the players, not being that authoritative, like whatever I say goes, that's what it's got to be. And that's what I think Nate McMillan did here. And to me, I don't see how that will work with Trae Young. If you want Trae Young to work in Atlanta, what Nate McMillan did here is not going to work from the coaching situation because even when he was at Oklahoma, Trae Young has never seemed like an ultimatum guy to me, where it's like you got to do this or this, because Trae Young will probably say you and get out of here. But I look at it and I just that's Trae Young's not at fault, but to me, Nate McMillan, you got to be smarter. I almost would, if I'm Nate McMillan, look at what Lon Kruger did, and I know that yes, college to pros, you can't treat these pros like kids, college kids. They're obviously kids. It's a different atmosphere. But I look at it and I think the problem here is, and maybe Nate McMillan knows this because in his comments he said, oh, it was just a miscommunication. Maybe it was. Maybe that's all this is. And the miscommunication was, hey, I shouldn't have given him that ultimatum because Trae Young to me doesn't like coming to Trae Young and telling him, oh, you're playing off the bench or you're not playing at all. That's pretty harsh for an attitude that Trae Young, yeah, I shouldn't say attitude. That's kind of a negative connotation for the personality that Trae Young is, because Trae Young's not somebody that's going to take playing off the bench as a punishment lightly. And then will probably be what happened. I am not playing in the game. You can see how you do without me. I think they won the game, so it didn't really hurt them. But this is something the Hawks have to fix. And I don't think firing Nate McMillan's the problem. I don't think getting rid of Trae Young is those are not solutions. Getting rid of these guys, it's not the solution. I think they can work it out. I think Nate McMillan has to learn ultimatums are probably not going to work with Trae Young, but also Trae Young has to learn, hey, this is a business. You're now a professional athlete, and you got to kind of act like a professional. You can be your intense self when you're playing in the Garden, beating the Knicks, but when it's this situation, you kind of gotta, especially for you kind of gotta do things that maybe you don't want to because you are the leader of this team. Whatever you do is expected from everyone else, and it kind of trickles down in that sense. That's going to do it for this video, though, guys. I want to thank you guys for checking this out, letting me know what you think down below in that comment section. Like I said, first one of these, they're going to get better as they go on. This was like me dipping back in the water, shaking off the cobwebs. I can't wait to start doing this. Let me know what you guys think down below. Hit that like button if you liked it. Hit that subscribe button if you loved it. And hit that notification bell to stay tuned for whenever we're posting here on MVP. Got the Ricky Widmer show that's going to be coming out Monday through Fridays. I also got other video ideas that'll be coming out with non-set times. But thank you guys for everything. I will see you guys tomorrow. And as always, have a good day, everybody.